Hi guys, welcome back to ToonBlend 3D. Today, I will show you how I make a stylized dagger, from modeling to animation. I started by drawing the sketch in Krita and used some references from Pinterest. You can get a sketch illustration of this dagger on this channel Pinterest account. For details, see the description. Alright, let's get started. First, I will import the image reference. Press Shift+A, then choose Image and select Reference. Here, I only use one image, since the most important thing is to understand the overall shape of the dagger. Then, I import a character from Mixamo to help adjust the dagger's scale. You can also use an armature bone instead if you prefer. Even though we are not setting the exact scale right now, we can adjust it later at the end. Next, place the reference image at the world origin to make modeling easier. Once done, we can delete the character. I try to keep the dagger handle aligned with the center of the world origin. Okay, let's start modeling. I begin with the blade. Press Shift+A, add a mesh plane as the base. Go to Edit mode, then position the plane along the dagger blade. Use X-ray mode to clearly see the reference behind it. Press E to extrude the plane and follow the side contour of the dagger blade. Make sure to keep the edge flow smooth along the curves. Then, add extra topology around the circular area to maintain a clean mesh. Continue modeling the detailed parts, such as the metal section. Fill the empty areas while maintaining proper topology. Although for hard surface models like this, topology is less critical than for characters, it still helps. Switch to Face Select mode. Select edges using Alt+Shift, then press Ctrl+I to invert the selection. Add a mirror modifier and make sure clipping is enabled. Press G and move sideways to give the blade some thickness. To make the metal section stand out, select the faces and press Alt+E, then choose Extrude Faces along normals. Adjust the thickness and position of the metal area. Switch to Edge Select mode. Select the edges that will be separated later for texturing. Press U, then choose Mark Seam. Next, select the sharp edges along the borders, right-click and choose Mark Sharp. Once done, check the mesh and rename it to Sword. Next, let's make the wooden part with the gem circle. Go to Object mode, hold Shift, then right-click on the center of the gem to place the 3D cursor. Add a circle and set it to 16 vertices. Switch to Edit mode and position the circle. Press R to rotate, then press X to lock the rotation axis and type 90. Then press S to scale the circle and adjust it to match the reference. Switch the selection mode to vertex, then rotate the circle so the vertices are easier to work with for the topology later. Next, press E to extrude and S to scale. Then add a mirror modifier, select all vertices, and move them to the side to define the thickness of the wood mesh. continue shaping the mesh and make sure you understand the form you want to create. Make sure to enable clipping on the mirror modifier. Press M to merge, then choose at center to close the circle. Then continue. Basically, we'll just use the shortcuts E to extrude, S to scale, R to rotate, and G to move vertices. The most important thing is to understand these basics and know exactly what shape you want to create. For the whole section, select the edge, press Ctrl+B to bevel, delete the face. Then right-click and choose Looptools Circle. Make sure the Looptools add-on is enabled. Press R to adjust the rotation. Select the middle edge of the wood and press S to scale. Then, select the edge border and press Ctrl+B to add a bevel. Add a subdivision modifier for smoothness. Go to Object Mode, right-click, and choose Shade Smooth on the mesh. Then go back to Edit Mode and click the on-cage icon on the subdivision modifier to make modeling easier. Select specific edges and press Shift+E to keep them sharp under subdivision. Just like the blade, mark seams and sharp edges on areas that will be textured separately. Continue adjusting the topology. Use Shift+H to isolate the selected area and Alt+H to reveal all faces again. Once finished, rename the mesh. Now, let's model the bandage or handle wrap of the dagger. Add a curve, then choose Bezier. This will be used as the base to shape the handle. In Edit Mode, adjust the curves, shape, and flow. Go back to Object Mode and add a mesh plane. Go to Edit Mode, delete some parts, and here we'll only keep the edge vortices without faces. Then add a screw modifier to create the wrap pattern. Select the edge vertices, right-click, and choose Subdivide to add more control points. Adjust the vertex scale to shape the screw spiral. Next, modify the screw parameters to control tilt direction, number of turns, and length in the modifier panel. Then add a curve modifier and select the previous curve as the target. Adjust the deform axis and tweak the shape until it matches the desired form. If needed, go back to the Bezier curve and refine it. Make sure the handle looks straight and natural along the side view. Once finished, rename the mesh. Next, let's model the metal part. Add a mesh plane, extrude, and follow the reference shape. Use Ctrl+R to add edge loops and adjust their count using the scroll wheel. Add a mirror modifier and enable clipping. Press G to adjust the form and give it volume. The process is similar to how we modeled the blade. While still in edit mode, add a cube mesh and use it for other parts as needed. As before, apply Mark Seam and Mark Sharp to prepare for texturing. We can also auto-select sharp edges and make sure you're using Edge Select mode. Rename the mesh after completing this step. Hide the reference image. Go back to the handle mesh and apply the screw and curve modifiers. Select vertices and use Ctrl plus Numpad plus to expand the selection automatically. Then press X to delete the unnecessary parts. Clean up the mesh carefully to make UV mapping and texturing easier later. Separate mesh parts for better texturing control. For example, the gem from the wood or metal parts of the dagger. Select the area, then press P to separate and choose by selection. Combine all metal meshes into a single object by selecting both meshes, then press Ctrl+J to join them. Finally, review the overall topology to make sure everything looks clean and ready for UV unwrapping. Once the model looks good, we can move on to UV mapping. Then switch to the UV editing workspace layout. Start with the handle. Press A to select all mesh vertices, then press U to unwrap, and choose angle-based. Here, I use the UVToolkit add-on, so make sure you have it installed. In the UV editor, enable UV sync selection to easily select and split the handle UV in half. Then, add mark seam, because without it, the UV layout will stretch too long. Then, in edit mode, press U and select Mark Seam. Next, press A to select all vertices, then press U again and choose Unwrap Angle Based. In the UV editor, select all vertices and use Straighten UVs to tidy up the layout. Make sure to disable UV Sync selection before that. Continue with the metal mesh. Select all vertices and unwrap them. Then, check the UVs carefully and make sure there are no overlapping vertices. If you find any, use UV Sync selection to locate and fix them. You can press M and choose Merge by Distance to clean up overlapping points. If that doesn't work, manually delete and rebuild the overlapping areas. After that, unwrap the mesh again and adjust the UV layout. Use Straighten UVs for parts that can be aligned into neat rectangular shapes. Then, move the UVs to the side of the UV map first. This makes it easier to arrange all the UV meshes later. Continue the same process for the wood, gem, and sword meshes. Go back to Object Mode, select all the mesh objects, and enter Edit Mode. Press A to select all vertices. In the UV Editor, select everything, go to the UV menu, and choose Average Island Scale. Then, arrange the UV islands by adjusting their position, rotation, and scale. Laying out the UVs feels a bit like playing Tetris, fitting each piece perfectly into place. Now the UV mapping process is complete. Switch to the Texture Paint workspace. Here, I use the Ucupaint add-on, which is very helpful for the painting process in Blender. You can also check out Ucupomar's YouTube channel, the creator of this add-on. A big thanks to Ucupomar for making and sharing it for free. First, in Object mode, select All Meshes, then open the Ucupaint tab and click Quick Ucupaint Node Setup. Here, I choose Emission, then click OK. Next, go to the Render Properties tab and set Color Management to Standard with Medium-High Contrast. Before starting the painting, let's create a color palette. Click New under the Color Palette tab. Show the reference image again, then use Shift+X to pick colors directly from it. Then click the plus icon on the color palette to save the color to your palette. Start by adding a new layer for the base color. Click the plus icon on the layer list, then choose New Image. Set the texture resolution. Here I use 2048 pixels. Rename the layer to Base Color, then click OK. Start with the sword mesh. Go to Edit mode, select the faces you want to paint, and return to Paint mode. Enable Paint Mask and use the Fill brush. Pick a color from the color palette. Use Alt+Q to switch quickly between objects. Switch to wireframe view using Shift+Z if you want to see the reference image underneath. Make sure all meshes are using the same material. Go back to Object mode, then select all meshes and make sure the sword mesh is selected last. Press Ctrl+L and choose Link Materials. With this, all meshes are now using the same material. Continue the same process for the other meshes. When you're done, hide the reference image to keep the workspace clean. Next, add a new layer for ambient occlusion. Add a color ramp modifier to the layer and adjust the black color pointer to control the shadow intensity. Then, change the blend mode to soft light. Now, add a paint base layer. I still use the same 2048 pixel resolution. Set the margin type to Extend, name the layer, and click OK. If you see some areas not affected by the paint, rebake the paint base layer. After baking successfully, change the blend mode to soft light. Add a new layer called Edge Detect. Then, add a color ramp and adjust the colors. Change channel color to soft light. Continue to add brightness and contrast and tweak the brightness level. This layer is heavily influenced by marked sharp edges on your mesh. Next, add an image mask layer and fill the mesh with black to exclude certain areas from being affected by Edge Detect. Add a new image layer and name it Shading. Start by shading the metal parts using a gradient color. Set the gradient using the colors from the color palette. Next, paint by dragging the brush in the direction you want. Then make sure to use the fill brush. Adjust the gradient direction until it looks nice. For ambient occlusion, add an image mask layer and paint with a soft black brush on the sides of the handle. Continue painting on the shading layer using the soft paint brush. Use bright colors from the color palette and press X to switch between color 1 and color 2. Then paint the areas that are hit by light. For the gem, darken the base color first, then add bright highlights on the shading layer. Create a smooth transition from dark to light, just like on the handle. On the wood mesh, if painting does not work, check the face orientation. If it's red, the faces are flipped. You can fix this by going to Edit mode, selecting all vertices, and pressing Shift+N to recalculate normals. Use the slash key to isolate the mesh, then use a blur brush on the gem edges to blend the colors smoothly. Press slash again to return to normal view. If you notice a dark circular line on the gem, try disabling the ambient occlusion layer visibility to check it. Then fill the mask with black to fix the issue. Return to the wood mesh and smooth out the transitions between two color areas. Pick a good palette colors to make them blend naturally. If you see any unpainted spots, go back to the base color layer and fill them using a similar color. You can also fix this in Image Editor Paint mode. If that still doesn't work, check the ambient occlusion layer and use the smear brush to fix the blend. Continue shading by defining light reflections, especially along the edges. Reduce brush strength for smoother blending. Add an image mask to the paint base layer to create lighting on the wood mesh. Use a paint soft brush with black color to reduce the effect of the paint base layer. For the dagger blade, soften the sharp edge and add a slight stylized highlight to make it less rigid. Darken the curved areas to add depth. If a color looks off, check the ambient occlusion and edge detect layers and use a mask to hide unwanted spots. For glowing circle parts, use a hard brush with dragged-off stroke. This makes it easier to control the position. Make sure you paint in the correct view, like front view, to keep the circles symmetrical. Add a new image layer and name it Details, then set the blend mode to Soft Light. Use a paint soft brush with black and white colors. Use black to add shadows and white to add lighting effects. On the wood mesh, use the CR stroke brush to create wood texture. Adjust brush strength and switch between black and white carefully. You can get this brush for free from the Craft Reaper YouTube channel, where they also explain how to use it. Special thanks to Craft Reaper. Next, continue adding detail on the handle and metal meshes. Next, create a new layer named Rune. Use a soft brush and paint with bright colors to draw the rune details. Continue to add a new generated layer of Voronoi. Then add an image mask and fill unwanted areas with black. Adjust the scale and change the blend mode to soft light. Add a color ramp and adjust its position. Change the Voronoi feature from F1 to F2. Now, mask the Voronoi layer so that it only appears on the blade edges. Duplicate the Voronoi layer, invert the mask, and adjust the scale for variation. Don't forget to mask the glowing circle area as well. Add a new generated layer noise and set its blend type to soft light. Adjust the scale and add a color ramp. Then add an image mask layer and fill the unwanted parts with black. Add a new image layer called Scratch with blend type soft light. Start from the metal part. Use a soft brush with black and white colors. Then use the brush paint soft pressure to draw scratch marks or chipped effects. If scratches overlap unwanted areas, use a black mask to hide them. You can also adjust related layers like ambient occlusion or edge detect if needed. Then, if the dark tones are too light, go to the shading layer, add more black, and paint softly with soft light mode. Then return to the scratch layer and use white to paint the light reflections on the edges of the scratches. This creates a look that appears as if the metal has dents or chips. Continue with add a few scratches to the other metal parts, then move to the wood mesh. Create shadow scratches first, then add light on the edges. Be mindful of the light direction. For the gem, scratches or cracks are optional, but I'll still add a few. Do the same for the bandage handle. For the blade, I decided not to add any scratches. Finish each layer by adjusting brightness or contrast and fine-tune the texture scales. After finishing painting, proceed to bake the color channel. Set the resolution and sample size. Higher values give better quality, but take more time. Enable anti-halicing by setting it to 2 and change the margin type to extend. Here, I use GPU Compute for baking, then click OK. Once it's done, save the texture. Also, save the entire project and make a copy. That way, you can still reopen and edit your Ucupaint layers later without losing data. The painting process is now complete. Select the dagger blade mesh, then create a new material. Use Quick Ucupaint Node Setup, and this time choose Principled Shader. Create a new image layer, select Open Image, and load the baked texture. Set the roughness to maximum. In the channel list, enable metallic, roughness, and bump. Then, in object mode, select all meshes. Make sure the sword mesh is selected last. Ctrl+L and choose Link Material. Add a new vertex color mask and set its color to white with full opacity. Next, select the meshes that don't need this layer. Go to Edit mode, select all faces, and fill them with black using the Ucupaint tab. Return to Object mode and adjust height and blend opacity under the bump channel. Duplicate the layer, remove the previous mask, then add a new vertex color mask and set it to black. Select the handle and wood, go to Edit mode, select all faces, and fill them with white. Go back to Object mode and uncheck Metallic and Roughness. Then adjust the bump layer again. Finally, it's time to bake all channels. Click the gear icon in the Channel tab, then select Bake All Channels. Set the parameters the same as before, then click OK. Once baking is finished, save the texture again. And with that, the stylized dagger creation is complete. Now, we will apply the dagger to an animation. Go back to the Layout workspace. Add a plane axis object. Adjust the scale, Then press Ctrl plus A and choose Apply Scale. Move the 3D cursor by pressing Shift and right-clicking on the dagger's handle. Select the plane axis, then press Shift plus S and choose Selection to Cursor Keep Offset. Next, select all dagger meshes and make sure the plane axis is selected last. Press Ctrl plus P and choose Set Parent to Object. Move the plane axis to check if the parenting works correctly. Then, select all meshes and the plane axis together. Press Alt plus D to make a linked duplicate. Press Shift plus S and choose Cursor to World Origin. Then press the period key and select 3D Cursor as a pivot point. With the duplicate still selected, right-click, go to Mirror, and choose Z Global Axis. Now, add an empty single arrow object and adjust its rotation. Select both plane axes, then select the empty arrow last. Press Ctrl plus P and choose Set Parent to Object. Now, both daggers can move together. Next, I'm using a character and animation from Mixamo to test the weapon. Choose the character you want, then add an animation to it. For the first animation, make sure to download with skin. For the next ones, download without skin, meaning the animation only. Remember, all Mixamo characters and animations are licensed by Adobe. You may use them for videos and commercial projects, but not redistribute them. Here, we are only demonstrating the download process for learning purposes. Go back to Blender and import the FBX file. Start with the character that includes both the animation and skin. Use the spacebar to play the animation and escape to stop it. Then, switch to the animation workspace. Add a camera, press the backtick key, and choose View Camera. Lock the camera and adjust its position. Then add a nonlinear animation area below the timeline. Import all the other animations that were downloaded without skin. Next, click the push-down action icon on each animation. Select all armature bones and delete them, except for the main bone. In the track below, choose Add Action, or press Shift plus A to add the imported animation actions. Use the asterisk key to focus on a single track if needed. You can also move action strips between tracks. To connect to animation strips, select both strips and choose Add Transition, or press Shift plus T to create a transition. Repeat this process for any additional animations. Here, I want to create two scenes, one where the daggers combine into a single weapon, and another where they stay separate. This setup will make animation easier later. Now, let's attach the weapon to the animated character. Hold Shift and right-click where you want to attach it. Here, I'll attach it to the left hand. Select Empty a Row, then press Shift plus S, choose Selection to Cursor Keep Offset. Adjust the dagger's scale and rotation so it fits in the character's hand. Next, add a child of constraint to the empty arrow. In the target field, select the character's armature, then choose the bone closest to the empty object. In this case, I'll select the left hand bone. Then click Set Inverse. Before doing this, make sure you're on keyframe 1 at the start of the animation timeline. The dagger will now follow the left hand bone movement. Play the animation to test it. Try switching to other animation tracks as well. The dagger should now follow the animation smoothly. For the dual daggers, repeat the same process. Place the plane axis on both hands, and add a child of constraint to each dagger. Play the animation again to test both weapons. Check both animation tracks to make sure everything works correctly. Next, set up the output render settings. Choose FempEG Video as the file format, and use MP4 as the container. For the camera animation, you can also keyframe it. Just like the character animation, this allows you to switch between camera tracks easily. We can also transfer object data, such as the animation camera, to another scene. Once everything is ready, proceed to render the animation. Here, I'm using Viewport Render Animation, so the render matches exactly what we see in the viewport. And that's the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you in the next tutorial.